And yes, we are back. Thank you everyone for bearing with us while we have minor technical difficulties, but we're back in. I think we're going to whip through this, the opening of the game very quickly so we can get into that, the moment where we left off. But I think it all looks good. Walking through, this is the boat. Seeing this. Yeah, we've just had the thumbs up from our kind of technical team that everything is running smoothly now. Oh, it's a nice touch. I didn't realize this before, that he's got that the newspaper is coming out of his watch. That's very nice.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I think we had sound throughout, so the audience gets double conversation. We're going to go all new topics. So this is the kind of speedy conversation teens have.
Yeah, like, for example, technology we put in game is not so much because we didn't want to make Venice another cyberpunk.
Yeah, sure.
We want to keep that Venice vibe that always, even now, if you visit Venice, you feel like you are in the Renaissance Venice.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we wanted to keep the present mood of Venice and just change it a little bit.
Yes, and now we're in. Something I do want to kind of touch on here, the kind of sound that you've put in for the game, like it shifts with all of these icons you pick up, right?
Yeah.
Could you just tell us a little bit about that, like how these kind of beats and things are being constructed?
Yeah, these are core vibes, but we are still changing them a little bit because we want the game to be as playful as possible in the overworld sections. So we wanted a little bit of tricks or a little bit of tiny collectibles that you can get, and they change the way the music goes or change the mood you are exploring Venice. So we are still making some news in the final part of the game, but this is their meaning.
Right. I imagine we probably won't get to the second day of the demo where the water starts rising. Can you tell us a little bit about how the game does change and how the characters react to it?
Yeah, sure. The water will rise, so we have the same map, but with different routes to reach all the places of Venice. This is an explorative game, so we wanted to be as much explorative as possible. So you explore the ground up of Venice, and you explore the higher half of Venice.
Right.
So yeah, pretty much the map remains the same, but some routes change differently, so you can reach up new places and collect new things. And day by day, the tides will change. So we have a low water day and a high water day, and so on.
Yeah. So here Nova's chatting with this despondent ice cream seller. Like I imagine that business is slow.
Yeah, for example, Max is just like Nova. He's doing this work because he wants to achieve some money, but he's not committed to it. So it's another character that reflects some of Nova's feelings in Venice. So the characters are also a spectrum of Nova's personality, print to an extent.
Yeah.
Does his boat float on the second day?
Yeah. In the second day, Max will we rise with the water because
Amazing.
he's working on a boat, so the boat will stay in the same place, but
That's amazing. That's really great.
it will float.
So do you get, we've kind of been chatting over this, but do you get kind of hints of what kind of Max's backstory is and why he's still here, kind of living in Venice and this kind of thing?
Yeah. For example, the quest with Max is that Nova want to find the new flavors of ice cream. So she goes around Venice to find new things to mix up for ice creams, to explore new ways
Right.
of taste food.
Yeah.
And we have something also even in Arcadia about this.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. I think let's do a little bit more skating around the city, because I do think that it's really lovely to kind of see how it's all put together. Good spot. I didn't see that. Is there any particular space that you think we should head towards?
Yes, maybe the church. If you go right, on your right, let's keep going. On the right. Oh, I think it's mirrored up.
It's mirrored for you. It's mirrored it's mirrored for us, maybe. So you want to go the other way?
Well, this is how Venice works. You get lost in it. So
in 2089, they're gonna rotate Venice all on one axis.
Yeah.
Okay. You can see the church by here. This is an actual church in Venice that is called Centrovaso. So we took that, and it's not so famous to tourists, but for those who studied in Venice or lived in Venice, is a great spot to be. You can go down on the bridge to reach faster to the church.
Is it based on? Is the whole place based on real neighborhoods? Have you thought about the kind of different areas of Venice that you're using?
Yeah, we took the Venice map and we tried to change it a bit, because as you can see, it's all a grid of buildings. So we kind of experiment a bit. It's like Venice map, but played on Pokemon.
Right. That's a brilliant analogy.
It was a challenge to mix both the real map of Venice and this kind of camera.
Yeah.
It was the main challenge of our project, probably.
Oh yeah, so this is a moment where we you see that kind of Nova does have a good heart underneath it all. Like,
yeah,
she cleans up this graffiti even though she didn't do it, and it's a nice little bit of kind of character building in the story.
Yeah, Nova has this stone face because she always try to make a joke of everything, but during the course of the game you discover her kindness and her true personality.
I think maybe let's clean this graffiti, chat to Priest Anthony one more time, and then maybe we'll wrap it up for this game and head on to the next.
Yes, as you can see, graffiti is being cleaned up from the wall, but the old church will be flooded. So whatever, the priest is concentrated on that particular problem, but it's only a reaction to a bigger problem that also for
Right.
him is difficult to challenge.
I assume we find out that the author of the graffiti is the other chap that you mentioned earlier on.
Yeah, of course, it's Leo.
Right, yeah.
So if you're going to play more of this demo, you will find Leo, and Leo will told you that.
Right.
He made that graffiti.
And there we go. That's probably a very good place to stop playing Venice 2089. We will make sure that there are links in the chat if you want to try the demo, which is up on Steam at the moment. Yeah, let's take that moment to switch over now to even in Arcadia. Give that a moment with Joe. And yes, thank you again, everyone who's watching the stream for kind of bearing with us. Then we hope that you still managed to see a good chunk of this game and get a good feel for it. So we'll be going over to even in Arcadia, another kind of narrative based as well, exploration. These are the kind of things that are kind of nice bridges between these two games. But while we're waiting for it to spin up, Phoebe, do you want to just tell us a little bit more about where the kind of start for this game came in? Like what was the starting point for creating it?
Sure. Well, similarly to Venice 2089, it was started as a school project, an academic project. Here's kind of the intro starting, I guess.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Maybe I can read this aloud, because
Sure.
this does just kind of describe what's going to happen. So it was welcome. Thank you for attending the launch party for the Arcadia Gardens, which are Intrepis Corporation's premier attraction, a multi-sensory experience that recreates the pristine natural world of pre-launch planet Earth. It's telling you to wear a helmet inside at all times and gloves so you're not going to touch the plants. Many distinguished guests are joining us tonight, including yourself, and all guests have the option to claim their own early access private hab on Arcadia, for like habitation. Go ahead and explore. Every room in the gardens is open to you. We hope you decide to make Arcadia your home and enjoy the party. So this setup is that you are a guest, kind of a high-profile sort of person who's been invited to see this brand new planet that has been developed in a far future capitalist world where there are these huge corporations who go out, claim entire planets, develop them, market them as this great new world, the hottest new thing, just like the iPhone or whatever, the PlayStation 5, whatever is like the hottest new
and
commodity.
as disposable as those kind of things.
Just as disposable as those things.
Yeah.
So
I just like something you just mentioned, just to kind of jump in already. Because the last stream we had was games featured a game called Villains and Heroes, in which a character has to infiltrate a something kind of very similar to this, like the
Mhm.
higher echelons of society.
That's fun,
working out.
yeah.
Yeah.
A direction that could have been super fun is like you have some kind of mission, you're
Right.
infiltrating this, but that's really not the case here. You're really just an observer.
Yeah.
The player really doesn't have anything to do with the narrative that's going on, which
Yeah.
I also thought was an interesting approach to kind of decenter the player in that way.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So here you're in the lobby, which has some kind of informational plaques describing the project of this new planet Arcadia, and you're specifically inside this botanical garden that is kind of the big attraction of the planet, like the Disneyland of this planet. Is like these gardens in a time in a future where there aren't there's no interaction with nature anymore, because people are living in colonized planets in sort of hermetically sealed habitation units.
Yeah.
And so I was interested in imagining what people's relationship to nature would be in a world like that.
Right.
And how there would be this tension between this high-tech world that they're living in, this endless progress, and this nostalgia for something more quote-unquote real or natural.
Yeah. That's a really interesting kind of term to put on this nostalgia, because somehow this nostalgia is so hyper capitalized that it's a product. Like the nostalgia is a product,
Yes,
but through
absolutely.
it feels like, by kind of as I was kind of walking through the game, I wasn't quite sure if people were looking for things that felt like the old or things that looked like them but felt very new. Like there's that real kind of tension between kind of reality and product, which I think you've kind of captured really well.
Yeah, I think that's really at the heart of a lot of what's going on here.
Let's stop on these characters here and just see what's.
Sure. Yeah. So the other half, there's the sort of the setting, and then there's the characters. And these two are Ozymandias on the right, or maybe it's mirrored. No, it's mirrored for Joe. It's not mirrored for the stream.
Yeah.
Ozymandias on the right is kind of the CEO of this company, Intrepis,
Right.
who created this planet. Kind of just really the embodiment of the capitalist big business guy. And on the left is Kanami, who is his niece, and they have quite a complicated relationship that you might discover if you play the game.
Yes, and I highly recommend anyone who's watching do give both of these games a go, because they're not kind of strictly linear. You can kind of find different parts of the stories by kind of exploring in different ways.
Yeah, so all of these conversations are just happening in real time, regardless of where the player is at the moment, whether they're paying attention.
Right. So you would playing kind of multiple times will give you very different things than if you're taking different.
Yeah. So as we're watching this conversation between these characters, the other main characters are all off doing different things in various areas of the map.
Amazing.
Yeah, and that was all credit due to the immersive theater world, and especially a production I saw in New York called Sleep No More, which was pretty much the inspiration for the sort of narrative structure of the game.
Yeah. Yes, it very much feels like that kind of thing. You're just let loose in a space, and actors are kind of around. Or in this case, I think that something that kind of elevates it even more is that there is these characters are real. Like you don't kind of feel like they're actors playing a thing, even though it is a digitally constructed world. You've been given these characters to just follow, which is Amazing.
Thank you.
There's a big emphasis on kind of organic life through these kind of flowers and the orchard you can go through. What led you to kind of gravitate to that being a kind of central part of this narrative?
Well, I mean, it's a botanical garden is the setting, so of course there's a lot of of plants and things, but what led me to that setting, I guess, was well, I like them. I like going to gardens. I like seeing plants and all the different weird kinds of plants that exist in the world, but I was also interested in the kind of contradictions inherent in these spaces, because there's a really long history of colonialism and exploitation tied up in the history of botanical gardens and botany, and this impetus to kind of gather and organize and control life and living things and all of nature, really. The first botanical gardens were created by these explorers who went out to quote unquote undiscovered lands and brought back specimens, and it was really a project of controlling nature and recreating it in a
palatable way.
In a palatable way, in a way that is completely under the control of people. Of Western science. So that I was very interested in that. I had some sort of unrealized ideas for the game where there would be a little UI program called the Robotanist who would tell you all about the different plants, and I really wanted to just kind of describe the horrible histories of some of these plants, especially like spices and things like that, that have these extremely devastating colonial histories. But I couldn't quite figure out how to resolve that information with the voice that the creators of the garden in the world would be presenting, I guess, because they wouldn't care about that stuff.
Right.
So I kind of got stuck and then didn't have time to figure out how to implement that, but maybe one day. This is really still a prototype in a lot of ways. So
I think that's a neat, interesting similarity as well, that I think later on in Venice 2089 you also get a kind of robot companion who kind of helps you out throughout the world. We didn't quite get to that bit, but interesting, that idea of having something that is very technological kind of helping you along. Like, I guess they play very different roles across the two different games, but just interesting to note.
There's a little name drop.
So actually that's probably a good moment to mention that the title of the piece. Do you want to just say where that comes from? And
yeah, sure. It's from a painting, Renaissance-ish, I think. Painting by Nicolas Poussin, that shows some shepherds in Arcadia, which was kind of a idyllic pastoral landscape envisioned in ancient Greece, and his interpretation of that has these shepherds looking at a tombstone, and on the tombstone it says "Et in Arcadia ego," which is interpreted as "even in Arcadia I am there," the I being death. So these shepherds are reflecting on their own mortality, realizing that even in this paradise everything is temporary. In my game, and this is not anywhere explicit in the work, but in my head, the way I interpret it, that quote here is, it's even in Arcadia humans are there, which is really the way I don't know, looking at our own world, uh, anywhere you go, you're gonna find like a crumpled up water bottle or
Yeah.
like a piece of rubber. Like even in the most remote, supposedly untouched nature,
Yeah.
that like human impact is there everywhere already in our world. And that gets back to what I was, the first thing I mentioned, this sort of division between human and nature and what that might look like in a far future like this where we've left Earth, but it's also like, what does it look like now on Earth? And I don't think that separation is as is real, really,
Right.
at all
Yeah.
anymore. It's like almost everywhere, even like national parks, for example, are so curated, so managed. They're basically a garden just like this, created for humans to kind of enjoy as a leisure place. So
Yeah. I wonder what the I guess cultural differences are in terms of kind of national parks. Because you're based in the States, I know from
sure.
my kind of experience of national parks here, you can't get lost here. And so I feel that kind of level of human touch very palpably, because you can probably hear a road wherever you are, more or less.
That's amazing. They're huge. There are huge parks in the US, so I think that the sort of marketing is stronger. You can really believe that you're going into some totally untouched place. You can get away from roads. But
they'll probably have waste paper bins
you'll
like
see
this.
You'll see a plastic bag somewhere. Or something. Or you simply, it doesn't even need to be that obvious. It's like you won't see the animals that would have been, key
Well, there's just a path
members.
for you to follow.
There's a path. Yeah, there's designated lookouts where you're going to see the most beautiful curated vista. It's all sorry if I'm being a little bit gloomy.
I think that it's all part and parcel of the game.
This was like let's talk about all the worst stuff game, and maybe one day I'll make a game that's like, let's imagine a good world, but
the utopian version.
This was like, let's criticize bad world. So
I think it was quite handy that while we're having this quite gloomy moment, to see Ozymandias just talking to himself, going through this.
This is him. This was me right before this talk. He has to give a speech, and he's just kind of wandering around like nervous for it, practicing what he's gonna say. That speech might actually be a good, if we just keep following him, we could maybe read some of what he says.
Absolutely.
There, because that's pretty gets to the heart of a lot of ideas that are in the game.
Shall I take it?
Yeah, you can take it.
Sure.
He'll stop it wandering in a minute, and it will be easier to read, probably.
This beautiful new world, that's worth something.
I guess it's still a little while until.
Sure. Okay.
I don't remember my own timeline exactly,
sure.
But
well, in fact, while we're kind of pausing on this, can you tell us a bit about the writing process? And just how you kind of put all of these branching, kind of interweaving journeys together.
So there's kind of two tricky aspects to the writing process, one of which is that there's all these different things happening at different times, and they kind of all need to fit together well. So like, it's not perfect. Like, here's a great example of these three characters, Jack, Leo, and Konami, are having a conversation, and meanwhile the other two main characters, Ozymandias and Emoshan, are just kind of off, not really doing anything
Off
because
stage.
the scenes just didn't quite line up perfectly here. But you know, I tried my best to have like each character has something going on all the time.
Yeah. How did you map out all of these different routes that they're taking and the different conversations they lead to?
I did have a whole wall of note cards for sure. And then I just had a big document with kind of everything in semi-chronological order. It's all divided up into like conversation chunks. So
Right.
like, so, you know, this whole conversation with the three of them is kind of one piece, and I would have that in the document. And probably like Ozymandias talking to himself would have been the one right before that. The code is a nightmare. The actual implementation of it is not great. I was teaching myself a lot about Unity while I was doing this project, so it was a learning process for sure.
Sure.
And then the other challenge of the script is that it's circular. So at the end of you can see it says cycle number 1 in the top. At the end of about 30 minutes, the whole thing resets itself.
Oh wow.
So and then it just keeps going. There's no like end. It will just play infinitely, and you can keep going back and experiencing new threads of the characters' stories. So I was trying to write it in a way that it would all, you know, everyone's little story arc would make sense. Like you could sort of start it anywhere and it would be continuous. It's not like it ends and then there's this weird like reset moment. It needed to sort of flow in a circle. So how did I do it? I don't know. I was I was just I don't know. I guess that it started focusing on individual scenes, and then just sort of seeing how I could slot them together. It's really about the scenes, I guess. Yeah. So here, this is starting. If you want to take it away, I guess.
Sure. My name is Emoshana, and I engineered. Creating the Arcadia Gardens has been my dream ever since I began work as a genetic designer for Intrepis Interplanetary. And it is my great pleasure to introduce you to Intrepis' CEO, without whose undying support my dream would have never come true. Please welcome Mr. Ozymandias Z-Tag.
Sorry, it's a little fast. Oh, another unfinished feature was adjusting the text speed.
Right.
I'd like to have that in.
Welcome, consumers. Welcome, my friends. Thank you for coming out tonight to this beautiful little piece of paradise. Let's have a cheer for the beautiful Arcadia Gardens, okay? Yay! Yay! Applause. And is this all the characters have amassed in one space?
Yeah, everybody's here right now.
I mean, they told me that the future is information and progress, not ancient biology from a dead planet. But they forget that every one of us is descended from the men who walked on that dead planet, who breathed its air and touched its ground. On Blue, the pre-launchers drew from their history to guide them. They logged and learned from the deeds of their predecessors. They built on one another's legacies. Today, we are too often aimless. Oh, I missed a bit. We have so much space, we forget we share it with those who came before. I look at us drifting in all this space, and I ask myself where we are in relation to those who came before. If time repeats itself, if myths recreate themselves, are we Odysseus floating in exile? I say no, we are Aeneas, mourning our home forever destroyed. So I want to just pause at that moment and ask, is this genuine? So we've seen a couple of moments with this character being what I assumed was kind of brazenly capitalist and quite uncaring about this stuff. Does he believe these things? Is that
I'm gonna just say that's up to the
sure.
audience's interpretation, I guess. Yeah. I think he has a big concern about his own legacy. I'll
Yeah.
say that, and how he's going to be remembered, and how which is it's kind of the great ironic tragedy of Ozymandias's character, is like he wants to create something that will last, that will that people will remember him for, but everything he's making is these single-use disposable garbage, like capitalist things to sell to people. So
how did you come up with that notion of single-use planets, essentially?
single-use planets. I think it was in a conversation with a friend in college. I don't think it was my idea. I think it was my friend's idea. But I had been reading about planned obsolescence, about just the amount of garbage we generate. That was really infuriating to think about, and I was kind of just like, that's a really interesting topic. What would be a way to kind of exaggerate and satirize that and push it to its limit? And we ended up at the whole world falling into that framework.
So I think this is probably a good place to start wrapping up with Even in Arcadia. I think let's chat a bit more just about how both of these games, about kind of similarities, differences, anything you might have noticed kind of as we've been going. Everyone who's watching along, please do put any questions you have in the chat, and we'll come to those too. Kind of opening this up kind of to both of you. We've touched on it briefly kind of in both of the games, but both of them have this kind of real kind of environmental leaning. How do you want that to be kind of taken by players? Have you made these games with the idea of saying things are bad, let's try and make them better? Is that a kind of goal behind putting these things out? I think I want to throw that over to you, Francesco, just because I think that I would like to hear how this plays in a game like Venice 2021.
Personally, I think that we didn't want to make a game about climate change to say we have to change. We wanted to make this game to think how we should be responsible for climate change, because I think that like Nova, we identify as Nova. We are still trying to figure out how to make work your career or your self-expression with the climate change that is ongoing, and it's already happening, because 2 months later we decided the concept for Venice. Venice was flooded by a huge tide that water entered everywhere. I mean, it still is happening every like a year or two, but it was very huge and set a new record for the tides. So we are still figuring out. We have how much 60 years to get to Nova's point. So it's our role in this climate change solution brainstorming. It's more kind of like let's talk with the player and decide how to go on, how to choose the right solution for everybody.
Yeah, interesting, cool. And Phoebe, I think this is why I wanted to do it this way around, because you're slightly like a few steps beyond that moment in Venice 2089, where perhaps things might just be lost at this moment. Like, what are the kind of takeaways that you want players to be thinking about kind of during and after? Like, what's the... I
mean I would love for people to play it and be think, okay, we need to not get to this moment. What can I do to help? But I mean, for myself, it's a constant struggle to know what one individual can do.
Absolutely.
It's pretty difficult. I think similarly to what you were saying, Francesco, I was exploring these questions through the characters. Each of the 5 main characters in Arcadia is really at a different point with kind of grappling with the injustices of the world they're living in. Kanami is the character who is sort of the most fed up with it and really wanting to get out of this system, you know, get back to some kind of life that makes any kind of sense. And there's sort of this hinted idea of these planets that have been abandoned by the corporations who created them, called OPSIs, for like obsolescent planets. And nobody in the kind of corporate societies knows where they are, knows how to get there, believes that anyone is living there. But Kanami has a hope that there is on these planets some kind of better world, I guess, and she's trying to find that.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of like hope there that I would like to maybe explore more in future projects and that idea. But yeah, I mean, it's difficult. I was reading a lot of theory, like the Situationist International were a big influence, and they have some ideas about ways to kind of create change, but sort of their critique, as well as mine, is much stronger when it's criticizing what's bad and a little bit less clear about how to move forward in a good way. So yeah.
Yeah, I think something that both of you have touched on there, that's been a kind of running theme throughout the festival, is that games with this kind of environmental or kind of ecological leaning are showing more and more that this isn't an individual problem necessarily, that we are kind of told so many times that it is this individual thing, like to kind of recycle your bottles, turn off the tap when you're brushing your teeth and things. And now through games like both of yours, I think, and many others on our official selection this year, are showing that this problem is like that message is kind of fundamentally flawed and has been kind of packaged and given to us as almost a kind of distraction technique.
Absolutely.
It's a tough one to kind of underline and move on with. I think, again, this is kind of for both of you as well. Do you think that there is a way that kind of interactive media in games can be used to make things, to kind of make positive change?
I mean, I hope so. I think so.
I think that it's more like how games in the industry, or like the system of game industry, can change in relation with the other systems that are above the game world, because we are only a branch of more greater system that is not up to the single person, but more of economical, social system, or strong values that are that we are bringing from colonialism, from capitalism. So I mean, games as a media can express this feeling or these problems, but it's more like how as a game we can impact our industry. I think that is more important that what games are, because games can be relaxing, they can be as Nova, running the overboard. I don't want to hear all the problems around me. I want to relax and think about our mental health. And then when we put out our headphones, like changing the world outside.
Yeah, cool. I think we should probably start moving towards wrapping up the stream. We got very doomy there. I think maybe to kind of bring it back up a little bit. Could you tell us a little bit more about what you might be working on, or where we can see other kind of works of yours that can kind of expand this reading? Phoebe, do you want to start?
Sure. So I have some other projects at girltoboard.itch.io, which you can find if you follow the link to Arcadia. I make weird little experimental games on there. If you're interested in more of like the theory behind Arcadia, I wrote a written component as part of, it was my senior thesis project, so there's kind of a big written chunk describing in more detail a lot of the ideas and themes I was talking about here, that you can find on the project page. I think the link might be broken, but I'll fix it. And other than that, right now I'm working for a game studio called Nerevan Games on a project, so I haven't been working on any real big personal projects recently, but I hope to again in the future. Next one will be happier. I promise.
And Francesco, tell us a little bit more about kind of the development of kind of Venice 2089 and what's happening with Safe Place in the future.
Yeah, we are at the first game, so we are full into the development of Venice 2089, and we hope to bring that to Steam very soon. I don't want to spoil anything. We will have so many more events to show our demo. You can download it now from Steam, and just follow our social. Wrote Venice 2089. You will find us in Instagram, Twitter.
The usual places.
See what happens. Yeah. You already know.
Great. Yeah, we will have all of those links both in the chat and on the festival website for if anyone wants to try the games for themselves or see more of Phoebe and Francesco's work. I think that's probably a wonderful place to pause for the day. Thank you everyone for watching. Huge thank you to both Phoebe and Francesco for joining me today. Apologies about the mild technical issues earlier on. I think we handled it like champs. I think we got through it. If you're watching and you want a little more from Now Play This, we'll be having a festival party this evening at 8 p.m. GMT. So that's happening in the Digital Festival Courtyard, our kind of community space, specially designed by the artist Tiz Creel. Come and join us there for just some hangs, just some music and some hangs. I think that's a great place to stop. Thank you both for joining me. Thank you everyone for watching, and maybe we'll see you tomorrow for some workshops, some more streams, but otherwise we hope you're enjoying the festival. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Yes.